Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen we're making some easy, delicious peanut brittle. So let's get started. This peanut brittle comes together in a few minutes, but you have to have all your prep work done ahead of time because you can't scramble. You have to have one thing going right into the other because it cools so quickly. So in a medium pot with a heavy bottom and hopefully thick sides, we're gonna add 2 cups or 400 grams of granulated sugar, along with half a cup or 120 mils of water. Just pour that right in, along with 1 cup or 240 mils of corn syrup. The reason we want that thick bottomed pot is it'll conduct the heat really well. If your pot is really just a lightweight, you're gonna have some scorching and it's gonna be very annoying. The sugar can get too hot. Gosh, that corn syrup is so thick. If you're wondering what this is, it's just an inverted sugar and it's gonna give us a really nice, stable caramel. We're basically making a special caramel with peanuts that has a lovely brittle texture, peanut brittle, and it is just a delicious holiday treat. It makes great gifts too. All right, now get that into your pot. I get a lot of questions about corn syrup, and I would just point out that it's different from high fructose corn syrup. This is actually not that sweet if you ever taste it. It's sweetish. Get that off the spatula. And of course, we want some contrast so it's not just pure sugar. So half a teaspoon of salt, and honestly, I do a heaping half teaspoon because I like my peanut brittle extra salty. Sprinkle it in. All right, the contents of this pot are ready to go, but we need our pan ready because this is gonna heat up and get poured directly into the pan right away before it cools. So, candy thermometer, setting that aside. You don't want anything to stick, so go ahead and butter your baking sheet. And I like to use a lined one just so I know nothing is gonna spill over, a little bit of insurance. This is ready to go on to heat, but beforehand, just have everything else ready. 2 cups of dry roasted peanuts, they're all measured out in a bowl, ready to go. 3/4 of a cup of butter that's softened. I'm gonna cube it up while this heats. And crucially, you need 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and for flavor, a bit of vanilla. Let's have this all out next to our cooktop, so we're ready to go. Gently stir together this mixture of different sugars and water with a little bit of salt, just like that. And one thing you don't want is sugar burning. So if you have any bits of sugar on the rim of your pot, use a silicone spatula to wipe them down, or go ahead and grab some water and a pastry brush and wipe the side down. Now we can place our pot over medium heat and also clip in our candy thermometer. We're making a candy, we want it to come to the hard crack stage, so this thermometer is very helpful. So one thing, I'm gonna switch away from this spatula because it has a metal handle and already it is very hot. This is gonna be super hot. You don't wanna have anything metal or plastic. You could use a fully silicone spatula or you could use a wooden spoon. I'm gonna use a wooden spoon. Wood is a very poor conductor of heat. Gently stir this together just until the sugar dissolves. And by the way, if you like my videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. There's 2 new recipes every single week, lots of shorts, and there's always something delicious along the way. Anytime you see a recipe that uses baking soda or baking powder, you know it has to be from the 19th century to now. Before that, that leavening agent wasn't invented. A Southern lady was making taffy, which has similar ingredients, but you're gonna add cream of tartar to it, and she accidentally added baking powder, getting this result. She cooked it out anyways, really liked the texture, and a delicious recipe was born. You're just gently stirring occasionally until the sugar dissolves, then you can kind of leave it alone. You want to watch the thermometer because when it reaches 250, we need to add our butter. So while that's boiling away for about 6 or so minutes, we're gonna chop our butter up. Peanut brittle is great to make because it's very quick, it's easy. Eventually you'll memorize the recipe, and it is so delicious, it flies off of my cookie platters. I love making this on the holiday, and I'll make 1 batch or several batches as gifts, or to include in a cookie box, and then the other one gets put on a platter and is immediately just decimated by my kids and my husband. However, one thing is, you need to keep children away from this section. This is not one of those recipes where it's very kid-friendly because the sugar is so hot, it's quite dangerous. Adults have mistakes, And if this gets on your skin, it's really not fun. So be extra vigilant, little ones away. They can come for a tasting when this is done. My mixture just reached 250, so we're gonna carefully add our butter in and stir constantly until it's dissolved. It will bubble up quite a bit, that's fine. So stir constantly until the butter melts. Looks just about melted to me. Then you can take a stirring break and let it return to a boil and reach 280. Then we go on to our next step. So just keep an eye on the thermometer and stick around. That butter really brings the temperature down though, so you will be waiting for a bit for it to return to 250 and then come to 280. So you can see the color has changed. We've reached 280 and now it's time to add our peanuts in and stir slowly but consistently. Peanut brittle. This is really hot. Once it reaches 305, turn the heat off immediately and we're gonna add our vanilla and baking soda in. You'll need to stir a bit because the peanuts tend to clump up. Don't worry, with some stirring, they break apart and they end up being evenly distributed in your hot caramel. We've reached 305, removing from heat. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla in. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Ooh, that smells so good. As well as a teaspoon of baking powder. Sprinkle that in. Stir, stir, stir. Our thermometer is done. You can see the color and the consistency changing a lot. Now we're gonna immediately pour this onto our baking sheet. Get this all out. Now use the back of your spoon to move the brittle into an even layer, and it should be thinner than the peanuts. So quickly spread it out to the edges of your pan, and we're working fast because it sets up so quickly. Here you can go back to a silicone spatula just to get it all evenly out. All right, and in my opinion, this goes so well with some flaky salt, like a salted caramel vibe, so just sprinkle that over the top. If you used salted peanuts in the recipe, you can omit some of the added salt unless you are a salt fiend, and I don't mind, I respect that. This needs to cool completely. It'll be about 45 minutes. Then I'll show you how to get it out and snap it apart. This was the star of the recipe though, so do not try and eyeball it. You really should use a candy thermometer. If you're below 305, you'll have a chewy brittle. And if you're above 305, it might be like teeth chippingly hard. So it's gonna be right in that perfect zone. After 45 minutes, it's time to break it up. This should come out really easily because of all that butter. So lift it out, remove the paper, and give this to your best friend. We're gonna break this up now. It smells really good. Break it into whatever size piece you want, and this will keep in an airtight container or a paper bag for about 3 weeks. The enemy of peanut brittle is of course humidity, so keep it in a dry place, a nice sealed container. This will also freeze for 3 months. Once again, make sure it's in an airtight container. It should be perfectly crunchy, fly apart when you chew into it. Oh my gosh. This stuff is so dangerous because it's perfectly salty and sweet with the peanuts. Oh my gosh, you could finish this whole batch. So make sure you portion it out, share with your friends and family, and if you like my videos, hit that subscribe button and check out my candy playlists.